Welcome, friends. Be you Terrans, Rigelians, Alpha Centaurians, or any other interplanetary creatures, to this week's episode of Science Fiction Fantasies. If you had the opportunity to live forever, would you do it? If it meant uploading your essence into an AI in a robotic body, would you still do it? Today's story takes place on Eris, the first dwarf planet past Pluto, and home of the exiled transhumanists. It is the story of a fleshy, Kwame Urquhartz. Sit back and relax, if you can, and enjoy the Cyborg Rebellion.
It was a drag getting thrown off Earth. Not that I would go back if I could. As a transhuman, or H+er as we were derisively called, we had worn out our welcome. Just like the fleshy rock drillers I was watching on my security camera, I had been alerted to the disturbance via the neural implant provided to us as royals. Royals. That was a joke. I was many things. Kwame Urquhartz, an African warrior at the peak of perfection, the man with the $1 million face, ex-chief of staff, planetary peacekeepers, but I was not royalty. I'm chief of security on some hellhole named after the goddess of strife and discord, and of course, my subjects were rioting. The security cameras playing in my head displayed the holding cells at Justice Lock. A fleshy, a natural human sentenced to go through the lock was being prepped by a mech. 20 fleshy rock drillers were witnessing the event. As the mech was securing the fleshy's hands behind his back, the witness surged forward. Mechs moved forward to meet them. The fleshies pulled out laser pistols and began firing. The fleshies were definitely the perps. But it was Dimitri who caused the incident. Too bad he's not there, I thought, cutting the video feed in my head. I grabbed my sonic rifle and stepped into the ready room of the first level security detachment. Charlie Squad, fall in. We got fleshies attacking mechs at Justice Lock.
I knew this would happen.
So did I. Dmitry Petronovich had uploaded his consciousness into an AI and housed it in a robotic body. He despised those who hadn't. I had sworn I would never upload. I was not going to mess with perfection. My pretty face would remain human. That was why Dimitri and I did not get along at all. Forward! Entering the foyer, I saw one of the Mark IIs raise his fist and crush the skull on the bound fleshy. The prisoner collapsed to the deck, his head leaking grey matter, laser beams focused on the mech. In moments, arms, legs, and other pieces of his torso fell to the deck next to the dead prisoner. Bodies of 5 other fleshies and Mark IIs littered the floor. The air reeked of burnt flesh and scorched metal. I motioned. Charlie Squad fanned out, rifles leveled. Iridian security! Cease fire! One of the fleshies broke away from the group and activated the outer door of the airlock. Idiot. The escaping air pulled dead fleshies and robotic parts into the lock. I set my sonic rifle to stun and fired. The ear-piercing sound caused the fleshies to fall to their knees. Most dropped their pistols and vomited. The surviving mech continued toward them. I set my rifles to lethal and fired again. The super agitated sound wave, cocooned in a laser beam, easily cut through the mech's outer metal skin. His upper half fell away from his legs. Both pieces were sucked into the lock along with the acrid smell of burnt electronics. Close the lock.
Yes, sir.
You know who I am. Look at the vid screen.
Will not be killed by mechs!
No, Max! We want.
Justice is served. Pick up your weapons and go home. Squad leader, post 2 men on the lock.
Will not be put to death by mechs. Will not.
Not particularly wanting to shoot anyone else, I took out my knife and drew it across my palm. I held up my hand. The blood dripped down to the deck. We're all fleshies here. We all bleed. Now, unless you want to breathe vacuum, you'll pick up your weapons and go home. I'll carry your words to the Royal Council. The fleshies filed past. Last in line was the spokesman.
Thanks.
For what?
For listening. For taking our words to the royals.
We all live on this rock. We need to get along.
We'll meet again, Kwame Urquhartz. One day, when you need help.
Security Chief, to the council room. Security Chief, to the council room.
The fleshies are reproducing like viruses. We have to keep them in check.
You'll get your turn, Dimitri. Until then, remain quiet. General Urikhertz. Report.
Ex-General?
5 fleshies dead, 2 Mark IIs reduced to scrap. Was the third one our new model?
Yes, the Petronovich Mark III.
They look a lot better than the Mark IIs, but they smell the same when they're cut in half by a whiner.
You killed it?
I destroyed it. Count Palatine. It attacked and killed 5 fleshies. If we let mechs kill fleshies, it will bring the planetary peacekeepers down on us. It will remind the Earthers why we were exiled in the first place.
We were exiled because you couldn't keep your mouth or your zipper shut.
If you hadn't been such a tightwad, the reporter would have killed that story.
You would have just let your testosterone overcome what few gray cells you actually have and gotten us in trouble again.
I got your trouble. Come get it. I apologize, Count Palatine. I have a message from the fleshy spokesman. They will not allow mechs to man Justice Lock. They will not be killed by mechs, nor will the planetary peacekeepers allow it.
Bert, half the Peacekeeper senior officers are our clients. The other half are saving money for the life-lengthening enhancements. They will complain and do nothing.
Count Palatine, you will be making a mistake. You simply cannot treat the fleshies with contempt. I suggest you listen to them and bend a little.
Bert, have you looked at your timetables lately? We're falling further behind. I have a solution. Convert the fleshies to cyborgs.
Are you crazy? You can't turn the entire fleshy population into cyborgs. You'll turn a riot into a revolt.
Actually, I can. I have portable sick bays ready. We can start with the drillers, then work our way through the families. You'll find it much cheaper than supplying AIs to the Mark IIIs.
I've heard enough.
We have more to discuss, General.
I do not have time for discussions, Count Palatine. If you're going to insist on this disaster, then I have to prepare my troops. Back in my first level security detachment office, I denied my burning anger. It would not provide any positive results. Instead, I reviewed my options. Trouble would come. Dimitri would see to it. As long as it was small, isolated disturbances, I could handle it. If fleshies rioted en masse, I would be hard put to stop it. I didn't have to wait long to find out. At the beginning of the next shift, the drilling tunnels at 4th level went dark. For the first time in my life, I wished I'd been one of Dimitri's AIs. As it was, I was blind. I deployed with Alpha Detachment to investigate. My anxiety level was sky high. The beams of the fleshy cutting lasers flashed over our heads. We hit the deck and crabbed to the edges of the tunnel. Hold your fire! I spun around. Through the after image of the laser, I saw 4 mechs vaporize. I couldn't believe it. Dimitri had convinced the council to convert the fleshies. We got mechs coming from our rear. I rose to a crouch. It was a ludicrous thing to do. The unexpected usually is. Behind me, a cutter exploded in a brilliant whitish glow. Forward! Staggered formation! Fire! The steady burn caught my attention. I looked up. The cutter was burning an arc in the ceiling ahead of me. My heart pounded. Cave in! Fall back! I hurled myself backwards. Not far enough. Rubble struck my right shoulder. I felt a sharp slicing sensation. The force of the impact shoved me back toward the fleshies. I threw my right arm forward to cushion the fall. My face tried to carve a furrow in the tunnel floor as I landed. I turned my head to find out why. Through the blood dripping into my eyes, I discovered my right arm had been severed at the shoulder. I stared in disbelief. I couldn't breathe. Debris fell, smashing into my hip and legs. I couldn't move. Through the dim, dust-filled air, a figure appeared. I reached up for my rifle.
That's going to hurt.
Dimitri!
That really sucks about your arm. It looks like you might bleed out pretty quick.
I felt the blood spurting. I heard it splashing on the wall of the tunnel. I saw the white gleam of the bones that used to be my shoulder joint. Through my grimace, I smiled up at Dimitri. I guess you won't have to put up with me any longer.
Now, where would be the fun in that?
I raised my eyebrow. Dimitri tucked his baton-like rod under his arm and pulled a cloth out of a compartment in his leg. He placed it over my shoulder joint.
Nanos are amazing things, Kwame. Right now, they're multiplying at amazing speed, blocking nerve endings, closing arteries, encouraging regrowth, and an opiate for pain. They are healing you.
Why are you helping me?
You know, Kwame, we're not so different. Besides, it'd be boring here without you, and I'm gonna need your help on the council.
Me? Help you? It will take more than opiates.
Indeed. You will have to upload.
Oh, there's the kicker. You will save my life if I become a mech like you.
Seriously, look here at your ankle. It's so fragile, it's completely ruined. Upload and be made whole. What do you say? This is your last chance.
I hefted my whiner up to my face to hide the keying of my throat mic. I'd have to stand ready.
Ready for what?
In my goggles, I saw 6 dots light up. Alpha Detachment survived the cave-in. Fire! 4 whiners took out the mechs ahead of me. 2 struck Dimitri. The pulses came in waist-high, bent up as they neared Dimitri and hit his head. His head glowed with spent energy. Amazingly, he was unscathed. I stared as he rose to his full height. Dimitri smiled and pointed to a thin coppery circlet around his forehead.
What do you think? I call it a halo. It's an energy magnet that draws and absorbs all beam weapon energy. Ingenious, huh? It also returns the energy to its source. It's an ELF, extreme low frequency. I'm really quite fond of it.
Through my drug-induced haze, I saw fleshes swarm out of the dust filled with darkness. Dimitri's mechs fell back.
I may have to revise my opinion of fleshies. Goodbye, Kwame. Enjoy your last few moments with your new friends.
Dimitri pointed his baton at me. Beams from lasers and whiners slammed into his halo. He quivered as if suffering a systems overload. Dimitri loosed a long burst from his baton. Instead of striking me, the beam sped off in the direction of the shots that struck him. He turned and ran back down the tunnel. Out of the gloom came the fleshy spokesman. He had friends.
It is you. You saved us. We'd already left the tunnel. We thought the cave-in got them all. If not for the sound of your fighting, the mechs would have ambushed us.
Do you know who I am? The spokesman took out his knife and cut his palm. He held up his bleeding hand.
I know you, Kwame Urquharts. I know you bleed. Dig him out.
I looked up. A single chunk of granite dislodged and fell from the ceiling. My world went dark. I opened my eyes. My body felt odd. I could see, but it was different. Sharper, clearer. I looked around. I was in a small sick bay lying on a sunny bed. Surprisingly, I felt no confusion. It was more like curiosity. I sat up. Through the door entered the spokesman and the doctor.
How do you feel? Does everything work?
Work? I brought my right hand up and scratched my forehead. I snatched my hand down before my eyes. My right hand! But I lost my arm!
Along with both legs. The nanos kept you alive.
I saw a chunk of granite fall from the ceiling. My head.
Totally reconstructed. 80% brain loss. Fortunately, Dimitri left his portable sickbay behind when he ran away. Well stocked, too. It had the latest in AIs.
My mind screamed, no! I didn't see them leave. I was too deep in self-pity. I tasted the bitter irony in my mouth. I'd refused to upload because of my pretty face. Now, my pretty face was gone, and I was a cyborg.
Kwame Urquharts was a transhumanist who wished to live forever, but he wanted to do it on his terms. He got half of his wish. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, The Cyborg Rebellion. Join us again next week at this time. And remember, keep your head up and dream big. The universe is an awesome place. Good night.